Beautiful Camino. Welcome to Spain.
You will get to pray for another person in the group throughout your trip. Okay, so we will start this on your first day of your Camino. So we will be collecting the prayer partner forms, and then please write your name and the intentions for which you want your prayer partner to pray and why maybe you're doing this walk for or who you're doing the walk for.
Kilometers to be walking. I also feel a little anxious, and of course excited because it will also be my first time to do the Camino Ignaciano. The transformation.
Yung tinatawag nating pilgrimage sa Ingles o peregrinasyon, simply put, it's a visit eh. Isang pagbisita ito sa mga mahalagang lugar na may kinalaman sa pananampalataya.
I was in Spain for 7 years.
Pero pag sinabing pilgrimage, kung babalikan natin yung original na pinagmulan nito, talagang maglalakad ka. Nagsimula ito ng mga Middle Ages pa eh. Maglalakad ka papunta doon sa lugar na gusto mong puntahan kasi meron ka rin hinihinging bagay. May gusto kang baguhin sa buhay mo. Yung pagbabago na pwedeng bagong buhay o meron kang hinihingi na pabor sa Panginoon.
Why did you decide to go on this?
I don't know. No, really, I don't know. My friends who know me, they're all
Surprise.
shocked. They're all shocked. It's only my sons and my husband who are cheering me to join. But the rest of my friends, they're all in shock.
I'm the same like Lorna. The only thing I can say is I know that God called me. I remember we traveled with Father Jerry Orbis a lot on pilgrimages, and he will always say that you didn't choose the pilgrimage, but the pilgrimage chose you. So I think I will find out why doing this. I think it's called process of discernment.
I got really interested because I was interested in the life of Saint Ignatius. And then for some reason, my friend, who was the one who was more enthusiastic about the Camino, back out. And so I guess I'll also find out. So that's why I was struck when he said the pilgrimage chooses you. So maybe I'll also find out why. I'm the one here and not my friend.
When the Ignacio came about, I decided to join. I'm not a physically fit person, but I'll try my best to walk as much as I can.
I consider this pilgrimage as part of my life's journey. And of course, we wouldn't resist an opportunity. Not everybody gets an opportunity to go on a pilgrimage.
We have been lucky and a grace to have been called to this pilgrimage. I am so enthusiastic and looking forward to this.
The Camino deals or refers to that point in the life of Ignatius when there was a transformation in him after he was hit by a cannonball. And the transformation, the convalescence that happened in Loyola.
But Commander is right. You do dress for the victory feast before the battle has been fought.
He misunderstands. I dress for the casket.
Sir, our orders were to defend Pamplona. The city may be lost, Montes, but our garrison will hold. We have 18 cannons. We can concentrate our fire on the opposing artillery.
Malinaw na ang buhay ni San Ignacio bago siya naging peregrino, isang buhay na makabundo. Mayaman si San Ignacio, isang sundalo, at ang hanap niya ay yung lahat ng pwedeng makamtan ng isang taong professional. Yung masasabi natin na maraming pera, maraming luho.
It has been 3 months since the knight was injured in battle. And one thing is clear. There is nothing more crushing to the spirit.
What profit does it gain a man to gain the whole world but lose his soul in the process? Ano pag-isip-isip niya na parang may kulang pa sa buhay niya. At doon na nagsimula yung kanyang pagbabago. At yung simula ng pagbabago niya, gusto niya gumawa ng isang pilgrimage.
A what?
A pilgrim. He wants to go to Jerusalem and beg his way there, like the holy pilgrims of old.
But he's a Loyola. We cannot allow this.
Welcome. Hi. Pleasure to meet you. Welcome to Spain.
Hey guys, birthday of the Camino, and we're going to...
Hi, hello.
Super excited.
So the idea for the Camino came about when my mother first did her Camino in 2004. But a few years went by from when she came back and had that life-changing experience, and then we actually built the company.
Today they kind of visit for Loyola, you know. No, I comencé cuando yo hice mi primer Camino de Santiago, yo no vivía en España.
Mahirap ang sitwasyon ko noon. Ang daming mabibigat na pangyayari na sabay-sabay. May cancer ang aking ina noon. Naghiwalay kami ng asawa ko. Nung nakabangon ako ng bahagya, nagsara naman ang kumpanya ko. Nakasama ako sa Camino at sa totoo lang, napakalaking tulong noon sa akin. Isang desisyon na naging mahalaga sa aking buhay. Nagkaroon ako ng maraming oras para kumonekta sa sarili ko mismo, mag-isip ng mabuti, magkaroon ng panibagong perspektibo sa buhay at bawasan ang pagiging makasarili. Kinailangan kong ipamahagi ito sa ibang tao, sa mga may dinadalang problema sa buhay o nangangailangan ng malaking pagbabago. I felt that I had a great need to transmit the experience.
¿Y cómo va el Camino Ignaciano?
I think the mission of Morally Camino is to be a platform or a tool for people who are looking to either change their life, to reconnect with their spirituality or with God, or to maybe make some life decision that they haven't been able to make, which all requires finding some kind of strength inside of you.
Tomorrow the weather his side.
Like this,
Okay?
like today.
But sometimes maybe a cloud coming and say, looks like it's gonna rain, okay? Or take with you a jacket. So we say we're like shepherds, okay? We're trying to guide you and not to disturb your coming. Now, we're going to pass you, to each one of you, a folder, a very brief itinerary of the entire tour. The towns are very medieval-like with cobblestone streets, very narrow.
Your best friend is your feet. You have to pamper your feet and say every day, hello, how are you? And put cream, you know. You have to pamper your feet and your legs.
You were doing like this is the idea, okay? And like the wings that are spreading and welcoming all the pilgrims here.
In the main door of the manor house, we see the coat of arms of Loyola, a pot hanging from a chain over the hearth, flanked by two rampant wolves. In what has now become forever the Chapel of the Conversion. Let us observe a minute of silence in meditation.
Let us go rejoicing to the house of the Lord.
Perhaps we can look at many influences in our lives that shape us into who we are now. Perhaps in this pilgrimage, we can look into those moments that shaped us, particularly the persons who have shaped us. Kasi nga ang buhay ni San Ignacio ay isang pagbabagong buhay mula sa isang buhay na makamundo patungo sa isang buhay na talagang nakaalay sa Diyos. Ang Camino Ignaciano ay isang paraan upang tignan yung mga dinaanan na mga lugar ni San Ignacio habang siya ay nagbabalak magbagong buhay. Kaya magsisimula ka sa Loyola, tapos pupunta ka ng Aranzazu, and then Montserrat, and then pupunta ka sa Manresa, kung saan nagtapos yung kanyang peregrinasyon. Kung susundan natin yung mga lugar na dinaanan ni San Ignacio, inaasahan din na kahit papaano, mararanasan natin yung mga naranasan ni San Ignacio habang siya ay nagpe-peregrinasyon.
Si Queenie Chua. Ilang taon na ako? 41. And nagtatrabaho ako sa isang insurance company.
And also the founder of the Society of Jesus.
In Father Louis' reflection points, there's always a point to, diba? Like, you can reflect on this, or you can just walk with the Lord. My experience has always been the second part. I was curious to know more about the life of Saint Ignatius. No? So his points actually help in getting to know more about the Ignatian spirituality. Ayoko kasi ng pilgrimage na puro tour at shopping lang. No? And I've never been on a pilgrimage. This is my first time, but I've heard of other pilgrimages. And pilgrimages that go on tours and shopping is not my kind of thing. No. But in terms of expectations for this actual Camino, I had no particular expectations. No. I guess I just kept an open mind to what may happen. Yeah. Bago ako umalis sa Manila, may nagsabi sa akin, lakad lang yan, wag mag-OA. So, yun yung iniisip ko habang naglalakad noong day 1. Pero, pagdating na sa last 5 kilometers, gusto ko na talaga mag-OA. Kasi, para hindi ka naman araw-araw naglalakad ng 18 kilometers, di ba? Na tuloy-tuloy. Ano siya talaga? It was really a struggle. The companionship of my co-pilgrims helped me. Yung when they marvel at the tunnels, for example, or when they say, o konti na lang, 2 kilometro na lang. Pero that served as an encouragement. I was about to have blisters already. So during the stop, Marley took a look at it and then she applied something to stop it from becoming like a full-fledged blister. Pero hindi ko akalain na, di ba, parang owner siya ng company na to. And yet, siya yung mismong nag-alaga sa akin. Hindi siya nandidire, parang talagang minasahe pa niya pa ako.
When you finish the 2 kilometers, you have to change your shoes.
Ah, yes. So on the first day, even before we began walking, I received a text that my father was having some complaints, medical complaints. He was rushed to the ER and all. Of course, I was worried. But at the same time, you know that usual struggle na when you have family obligations and there are also things you want to do. So, I experienced that struggle.
Yung nabagay ni Queenie, basta sinabi niya na andito ako para magdasal. I could sense the trust that Queenie gave to our Lord. Sabi niya, walang mangyayari sa minamahal ko sa buhay. Alam kong hindi sila pababayaan.
And then I was praying, and then I remembered where I was. Because we were at the house of Saint Ignatius. I remembered he always talked about surrender. That you let go, I guess, of specific desires or specific wishes that you want, and that you be open to what God brings, and that you be also open to what is God's call. So yeah, for me, it was an aha moment na, that I needed to let go. I think I took a lot from the teachings of Saint Ignatius about surrender. So when I accepted it, I became more at peace. So whether I at that night, whether I would continue or not with the trip, I was indifferent to both choices. So if it goes this way, I would accept it joyfully. If it goes the other way, I would also accept it joyfully.
Kasi pag sinabing indifference, minsan iniisip ng tao yung indiferente ka, wala kang pakialam. To some extent, totoo yun eh. Kasi ang gusto mong pakialaman kung ano yung mahalaga sa Diyos. Ano ba yung sa tingin mo ay gusto ng Diyos para sa iyo na makakatulong. Tandaan natin, hindi lang ito para sa iyo. Kung ano man yung hiningi ng Diyos sa iyo, ito ay para sa kapwa mo. Kaya the theme of indifference is not just for yourself, but in view of loving, caring, serving the other more. Indifferent ka kung anong gusto mo, pero ang mas pinahalagahan mo kung ano yung gusto ng Diyos para sa iyo.
Sabi ng guide, challenging, but for me, it was my best day. Yeah, it was my best day because it was a good walk, even if it's uphill. But I was full of energy, and then I had time alone. I think that was the key. It was a good walk for me because I felt I was walking with the Lord. Yeah.
Habang nagkakamino ka, for every day, there would be particular places you have to go to. And kapag nalampasan mo na yan, nadaanan mo na yung mga lugar na yan, merong tatatakan.
We have Marriott in the Philippines. We have
They would stamp your certificate, certifying na natapos mo yung Camino for that day and for that place. So every day yan. And then at the end of the Camino, hindi na stamp ang matatanggap mo, isang malaking certificate na. Pupunta ka doon sa isang lugar doon sa Manresa at bibigyan ka ng certificate na certifying that you have finished the Camino.
Ako po'y CFO. Ako ay nagmamanage ng pera ng kumpanya. I make sure na ang patakbo sa kumpanya maayos at kumikita kami at kahit paano maayos ang paggastos. Ang karaniwang araw-araw ko sa opisina punong-puno talaga ng meetings. Magmula alas 10 hanggang mga alas 6. It's a daily grind of meetings, issues, projects to take care of. Araw-araw yon. Very seldom na may free time ka talaga to really do a lot more other work.
We've been to Naju, Korea, karamihan Europe, Eastern Europe, mga Marian, pilgrimages, Batak, yung mga Marian, especially Lourdes, Fatima, Medjugorje, and of course, Holy Land. Iba rin yung ng Holy Land. Our guide said na mahirap, pero dapat hindi nyo i-miss, sabi niya. We will be walking across the national park. Yun naman yung motivation mo. Aba, national park, dadaanan mo. Yun. So, yeah, mahirap yung first 4 kilometers, trekking talaga yun.
Okay. Sitting down na siya.
Ano, kaya mo ba? Isipin mo mabuti.
Ikaw po ang sinasabihan niya. Okay.
Sabi ko, isipin ko.
Mahilig po ba kayong mag-walk?
Wala. Nag-gym. Nag-walk naman, pero mga 1, 2, 3 kilometers, hindi ganito. Pero sabi ko, nung nagkukwenta ako pag sa gym, kaya ko siguro kasi kinikwenta ko yung
Kaya naman.
gym ko yung cross-training
If
ko.
they can take this for 3 hours, we will do it in 9.
It's just the timeline.
Parang life lang yan. Hi!
So we've just done how many kilometers?
2.
2. How many more kilometers?
Another 2
For the first break.
for the first stop.
Okay, and then after that,
And then is 8 to the bus.
And then another
And then 5.5 to the end.
okay.
It's not an endorsement, but it looks like Nike is more comfortable than New Balance. Pero yung second leg na yun talaga ang hirap talaga yun. Kasi that was, you walk at 1 o'clock p.m. for 6 kilometers ba yun? Oo. Talaga, at saka parang unending. Ang haba-haba eh. Parang kapigat yan. Kapag ganun tayo, Diyos ko, taas. Narinig ko boses na. We are curious to know. You are doing the Camino de Santiago?
No.
Camino Ignaciano. Ignaciano. And you started in Aranzazu or where? We started in Loyola. You enjoy?
Yes.
You have a very lovely country.
Yes, despite the pain and difficulty of walking.
We're very lucky to be here.
Trail that we walk. It's going to be another 8 kilometers from our last stop. That stop we walked about 5 kilometers. So there. At the end of the 8, there's going to be a bus waiting for us and I'm going to stop walking. But after that stop, there's still another 5 kilometers for other people to walk, not me. So there you go. My whole body was aching from my head to my foot. The part that was most painful were my knees. Kasi parang ayaw niya, naninigas na siya. Para na siyang lead, para ayaw niya nang mag-bend.
especially towards mga the 9-kilometer mark. Gusto ko kasing mapag-isa. I want to talk to myself. I want to be alone with myself. Just sorting out a lot of things. Hindi naman marami. Hindi naman din problemado. Pero kasi, the only time I have with myself is at night. Pag matutulog ka na, pagkatapos mo magdasal. So that's the only time I have with myself. And it's parang kukonti. And so I decided, why not go on a pilgrimage, a walk talaga, where I can be alone, with nature, malamig, kasi hindi ko kayang maglakad ng napakainit. I tried climbing mountains with my friends, pero usual, kulelat, tapos hirap na hirap akong makatapos. And wala ring panahon para mapag-isa ka. So, the Camino, I thought, pwede kong pag-isa, kahit huli ako sa lakad, okay lang yun sa akin. Kasi I want to be with myself, I want to converse with myself. And I love talking with myself, discussing with myself. Kahit paulit-ulit na question lang ang tinatanong ko, pare-pareho ang answer na nakukuha ko. Basta paulit-ulit lang.
Kamusta ka?
Ay, pagod na pagod. My knees are aching now, but let's finish this. I'm sure the Lord will carry me through. So, let's do this. Finish it. We've been walking for 4 hours and 43 minutes.
What are you eating?
Me?
Uh-uh.
I just took salt stick. It's a tablet of salt and electrolyte.
Okay.
With caffeine. So it should hydrate you and give you
Energy.
some energy. Buti na lang may nagpahiram sa akin ng salt sticks actually before coming here. So medyo nagkaroon ako ng second wind after drinking 1 tablet of salt stick.
Ito ang tunay na pilgrimage. Ay, kasi yun, para kang turista. Punta ka sa simbahan, ganyan. After that, shopping ka sa souvenir shop. Ito ang tunay na pilgrimage.
Nagsisisi po ba kayo?
Hindi naman. Meron at one point kayo na, ay, ano ba ito napasukan natin? Pero hindi. Ano kasi ito you have to disrupt your comfort life, di ba?
Kaya dapat nasa Danube kami. Sa akin naman yung dito sa ganitong pilgrimage, natetest talaga yung physical endurance mo, no? O limits, ano? And you find out that you have something left way beyond those limits, ano? Kayang-kaya pa pala.
Ito kasi talaga may sakripisyo ka, yung ganitong pilgrimage. Hindi lang kasi sightseeing. Habang naglalakad ka, yung marami kang naiisip, nakakapag-reflect ka, may discernment, nakikinig ka rin sa sarili mo, parang nade-detach ka. So, syempre kung may detachment, you have more time for listening to God, you know.
Nakausap ko ba ang Diyos? Sa akin kasi, when I talk to myself, it's like talking to God. Pag sumasagot ang sarili ko to me, God is talking back. It's talking to me. Maaaring hindi ko gusto yung naririnig ko kasi may mga realizations. But that's where trust gets into.
enters the conversation. Siguro I just need some time to understand the answer. Kasi for most of my questions, alam kong sagot eh. Like, my parents are getting old. Alam ko sagot doon, saan papunta yon. I probably need more time to digest what can happen. But it will happen. When that time comes, I just hope I'm at peace because I'm sure they will be at peace.
I'm actually the slowest. I'm at the last of the line. They just have to wait for me. I'm slow. I'm not that strong. So that's it. My knees are aching, both of them. So wala na si Lord.
2.5 yata and left. I was really limping na. Talagang limp. Talagang ganon. Ganon na talaga. Tapos with a stick. And so Ignatius said, I asked him how much longer. And he said 2.5 kilometers.
This is the last 5 kilometers of the day. Well, for me at least. I don't know what time I'll finish. Let's see. Everyone has gone ahead of me, so let's see.
Then he said, Eloy, where is it painful? And I said, on my left knee, I cannot bend it anymore going down because going down is the hard part for me because the knees are really painful as I step down. And then he said, how much do you weigh? And I said, 96 pounds. I said, around 44, 45. I'm less than a sack of rice, I told him. Then he said, well then, I think I can carry you. You're going to carry me, really? I told him, yeah, I think I can carry you. So, yun. So they said, okay, get into my back. So gumanon siya, sakay naman ako. Last for 500 meters, you should bring me down because I don't want them to see you carrying me like this. So it was really painful. But it was, I think, an achievement for me. I mean, I never walked 14.5 kilometers in my life.
Actually, hindi ko kalain na papayag siya. Kasi knowing her, parang full of confidence. Pero yun na nga eh, sa Camino, if you just allow yourself to be, you become vulnerable. And I think that's what happened to Eloy. She became vulnerable to the people around her because for a while, she was very sure of herself, kaya niya. And that vulnerability made her ask for help. I think that's one of the things that Camino will do to you. You become vulnerable. All your defenses go down. And it's a start of conversion. Because only when you're vulnerable do you feel that you're loved.
time? What the people? Oh my gosh, that's a lot of time.
My name is Bob Thistlewaite. I'm 66 years old, and I'm from Niagara Falls, Ontario, Canada. And currently I'm retired from my primary vocation in life, and now I work mostly as a volunteer with a hospice organization, working in hospice and palliative care. Yeah, well, hospice, it's a type of philosophy of care for people at the end of life, a way of assisting the individuals themselves as well as the family. So it brings the whole unit in. Normally we're assigned an individual or two or three at the time, depending on your time schedule. And these people, they are in the final stages of their lives. It could range from, it's hard to say how long they're going to be around, from days and weeks to months and even years sometimes. So it's getting to know those individuals, getting close to those individuals, becoming part of that family unit. In some cases, the most you'll do is just respite care for the family. You might run and get groceries or shovel snow or just do a few little chores around the house. Then in other cases where the individual doesn't have a very strong support network, you may get closer in many, many other ways with them, taking them to appointments, and sometimes just being that presence, that important silence, the person who is there not to cure, not to offer any kind of advice or anything else, but merely to listen and just be supportive of that individual, showing them the dignity that they deserve at that point in their life. I had just had a client who had passed away at the time, a hospice client, and I thought, I'd like to find out a little more about this Camino. I'd heard a great deal about it in the past. So I signed up 2 years ago, did the Camino. I did gain a great deal from the first Camino. My first Camino was a Camino of petition, in the sense of petition prayer to what should I be doing? What direction should I be taking?
You got to be silly sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I said yesterday about getting in touch with your inner child. It takes so long, but so few people, like people don't want that kid to come out.
Yeah.
You know, because they want to be very
It's a great retreat opportunity. It's a wonderful opportunity for meeting people that are on a spiritual quest, which we all are, but it's just that some people seem to recognize it a little more. And to come with an open mind, with an open heart, and again, that analogy to hospice, listening to understand as opposed to listening to reply, and listening with the heart rather than listening with the head.
Oh, there you go.
But the other thing is too, and I realized this as well, the journey that I can come here for is spiced with different foods and different events and different locations.
I suppose. He was saying there's a fork, diba? And then there's the yellow, ano? Dapat pala tinanong natin kanina.
Paano natin malaman kung ano na tayo? If we're on the right track?
Saan tayo, tita? Dito? Which road? Which road to take?
And as I found there, the arrows were there, you just had to look for them. And the work that I was doing, the hospice work I was doing, has certain metaphors that compare to the Camino as well, in the sense that sometimes you don't know what's coming next. Sometimes it's very stressful, sometimes it's very difficult, and then sometimes it's very relaxing. And all along the Camino, you're assisted by other individuals.
May kotse. Lumaragas ang kotse. Lumaragas ang kotse.
Sometimes you're walking alone, and suddenly from nowhere someone comes along. You have a dialogue, you talk with them, you discuss things. The next thing, they're gone again.
Ano yan eh, pupunta yan sa mga stops namin. Yan si Antonio, ang gwapo. Ang gwapo, That's Antonio.
Me.
Yeah. Okay. What's food? What's food? Oh, limited option today.
So it was kind of like the whole hospice concern for me. I meet an individual, I'm with them for a while, and they go off on their eternal experience. And I think that was the thing that really rings through in this Camino too, the idea that if you have the opportunity to be there with a person who you've come to know, who you've been present to, who has been present to you, and are in the final stages of their life, holding that person's hand in those final hours of their life, I've often seen it as them being a conduit to an eternal experience. As you hold one hand, the other hand is being taken by that eternal experience, the hand of God. So the closest I come to touching the hand of God is through the hand of serving one of my brothers and sisters.
Si Bob, nung una ko siya makita, alam ko may katandaan na si Bob eh. Kung kaya-kaya niya. Yung pala, sanay siya. Sanay siya sa Camino. And there were times na madalas kami magkasama at may naibahagi niya yung buhay niya sa akin. At habang nakikinig ako sa kanya, nakakaingit siya kasi ang dami niya ng dinaanan at ang yaman-yaman ng karanasan niya. Siguro nabanggit niya sa inyo na seminarista siya dati, pero naramdaman niya na tinatawag siya ng Diyos sa iba pang paraan para magsilbi sa kanya. At sinunod niya. At dahil doon, sunod-sunod na yung mga nangyari sa kanya. Yun ang gusto kong sabihin kanina, na hindi yung gusto natin ang mahalaga, kundi kung ano ba yung hinihingi sa atin ng Diyos. Katulad na nangyari kay Bob. Marami siyang natutunan. Meron siyang trabaho sa hospice, mga may sakit na nakalimutan na ng pamilya nila. Merong isa doon, kinikwento niya, isang pasyente, nakalimutan na yung pasyente na yon. Namatay yung pasyente na yun na siya ang kausap. At sinabi yata sa kanya, Bob, I love you. At naiyak si Bob noon kasi sabi niya, nabanggit niya sa akin na papasalamat sa Diyos na naandun siya para sa pasyente na yun.
But there's caminos everywhere in our lives. There's a camino to our soul that we follow. There's the camino that we follow with those individuals as well along the way. So it just strengthens the idea of spiritual journey and the importance of prayer, need for prayer, and for me, and I think for many others as well, that importance of just assessing where we're at. But it's certainly a prayer of thanksgiving, a prayer of coming together, a prayer of, this is a refreshing retreat for me, if you will, in the sense that I go back feeling even stronger, both physically, emotionally, and spiritually.
It's my first time to lead a pilgrimage, actually. So when it was offered to me, what will I do? And then there was a little anxiety at the start. Let's begin. And then Father, Lord, we thank you for this morning. Yung ginawa namin for every day, parang mini retreat. Kasi sa Camino kasi, maglalakad ka mag-isa. Kasi kahit na may mga kasama ka, ang usapan at your own pace. Minsan, sabay-sabay naglalakad yung mga tao, Pero after a while, kikita mo, kanya-kanyang lakad na, nag-iisa na sila. At habang nag-iisa sila sa kanilang paglalakad, inaasahan ko na babalikan nila yung mga pinag-usapan namin nung umaga. From being a knight of the king, a soldier of the king, he remained a soldier of the Lord. It's a question of, finding God's will. And in the course of finding God's will, many things affect you. Tapos, the following morning, again at 6:30 in the morning, kamustahan na? Anong mga nangyari sa'yo sa paglalakad mo kahapon? Nakatulong ba itong mga binigay natin na points? Ano yung mga hindi nakatulong? Bakit ka nahirapan? Kung nahirapan ka man sa iyong pagdarasal.
Did you notice that everybody, even the children, they all speak fluent Spanish?
I'm Lorna Pulumbarit. I'll be 64 this month. I am from Batangas City, married with 3 big sons and 2 grandchildren. Retired, happily retired.
I would like to invite you to a special pilgrimage being organized by Jesuit Communications in partnership with Marley Camino of Spain.
Maganda ito Tapos I was with my son that time in Brisbane. And then sabi nung anak ko, sige ma, you go. I will buy you your hiking shoes. Sabi ko, sige. And he bought me my shoes. Eh di dapat may paggamitan ako ng shoes ko. And it just flew to that. I made that decision, sige, sasama. All because of my shoes that my son bought for me. Wala akong agenda for this. I'm not looking for anything. I don't have any questions. Yung ibang pilgrimages, we ride the bus, we go to the site, we do the prayers, and then sightseeing. Kasi I always go, palagi na kasama ko either my barkada o kasama ko ang one of my sons, yung family ko. Actually, this is the first time na ako'y nag-pilgrimage na mag-isa, all by myself, with no friends and no alalays. And I was kind of scared at first, pero okay pala. I'm a happy person. I'm a blessed woman. I have a very good husband. I have very good kids. Ako yung sutil sa amin. I have no deep searching.
Saan natin nalagay?
Or maybe because I am still spiritually infantile. Hindi ako pa yung deep into this spirituality thing.
Gracias.
This door right here. Yeah.
Mostly ang nangyayari sa akin during this pilgrimage now is, well, I pray for the intercessions of my family, my relatives, my benefactors, my friends, yung mga intentions nila na pinadala sa akin, ipagdadasal ko daw. I have these candles, if you notice, that I light every time. Nakapangalan doon lahat yung mga nakasulat lahat doon.
Dahan-dahan lang po.
I have weak ankles. I easily trip. Well, I am bingi. My other ear, I am hearing challenge. Tapos I always get lost. I think I'm the weakest link. Challenged physically, I have weak legs, and I get lost so easily. Sabi ko, maybe ito yon, I will have miracles along the way. And it seems that I'm having miracles along the way. I don't feel really tired. I'm even surprised in myself. I call my sons and my husband and tell them, you'll be proud of me, you'll be proud of me. And they said, yes, Nana. They call me Nana. Yes, Nana, we're very proud of you, we're very proud of you. Go on, they were cheering me. It was only during my solo walk through the desert that I felt so good. I felt so good that time. I was walking alone, nobody in front, nobody by the side, nobody at the back. There are some weaknesses before na hindi ko patawad ang sarili ko. Even if na-confess na, I know God has forgiven me, pero parang ako, I still have that guilt feeling. Nung una, ang dami kong bit-bit sa aking backpack. May extra jacket, may ganyan-ganyan, lahat dala ko sa backpack. Na hindi ko pala naman ginagamit. And then nakikita ko si Father, walang dala. Bilis-bilis niya. Tapos along the way, as the days go on, nagtatanggal na ako ng ibang gamit. Hindi ko naman pala ito ginagamit. And then my backpack now is very, very light. I guess that's what happened to me spiritually. Even emotionally, I could add that. May mga dala pala ako na hindi ko naman alam na dala ko. And slowly nagsasurface at naiiwan ko somehow. That time in the desert, I think I left a lot of things there. Madami akong itinapon dun. And part of it is yung guilt. I am already very senior. Marami akong yung mga recklessness of youth. Imagine, dala ko pa yun hanggang ngayon. The guilt, na i-confess ko na alam ko na God has forgiven me, but somehow, I couldn't forgive myself. Parang mali pala nga yun. It's like you do not trust the kindness and the mercy of God that way. in a place where it's flat, desolate, very hot. Na doon ko na feel yung something different. And I started praying. Jesus, walk with me, walk with me. And I was feeling so good. I was feeling so good that time. And I didn't know I finished the whole stretch. And it's funny that it's happening in the middle of the... Many days have passed. And it's only now, only on that day, that I'm having the feel of the Camino.
Gano'n naman talaga sa simula eh. Kasi bago yung lugar, nag-a-adjust pa yung katawan natin. Nag-a-adjust pa tayo sa lahat-lahat. Pero after a period of adjustment, maybe it's empty in terms of nahirapan pa akong maghanap ng salita para ilarawan, para isabihin ko ano yung nararamdaman ko. Pero alam ko may nangyayari kay Lord na hindi nga niya masabi sa salita, pero makikita mo sa mga ngiti niya, sa mata niya, sa boses niya kung minsan, sa katahimikan niya.
When I started this pilgrimage, I was very open. Sabi ko, Jesus, please surprise me. And indeed, what I will be taking home after this would be little surprises. Wala yung really big ones na obvious. But I think in that, yung pagka hindi obvious niya, I think I have something deeper inside na kailangan kong upuan when I reach home. And I can feel it. I know that there's something big in there that I will bring home.
Camino! Peregrino!
We're still enthusiastic.
We're gonna do this.
We're gonna do this.
We are gonna do this.
We're almost there. We're almost there.
Ang peregrinasyon o ang Camino is something personal. Ikaw yung naglalakad mag-isa. Pero marami ka rin kalakbay. Marami ka rin kasama sa paglalakad mo. At malaking tulong yun sa paglalakbay. Kasi kung minsan ang Camino kasi masarap maglakad. Pero dapat malinaw din sa'yo na yung Camino, hindi lang paglalakad, kundi isang, communication with God in the silence of the Camino.
Yeah, follow the signs that are on the post. Follow the orange arrow that keeps you going down.
Nakakapagod pero at the end of the day, may sense of accomplishment.
I remember conjuring up those feelings and asking myself, are you ready to go home? And then I remember hearing, well, everything ends and it's time, so.
Figs. They're figs.
My name is Geraldine Mayatico. I live in the Philippines. I am an American. I am a nurse, and I've worked for a number of years for the United States Peace Corps, which is an international development organization that works in local communities with Filipino counterparts in the fields of education, health, fisheries, working with youth. What I do now at this stage in my life is to step away from a full professional day. I have a very rich support group here where I live in Lipa. I spend a lot of time in volunteer work. My mother always taught me that those to whom much is given, much is required. And although I don't have a fully active professional life, I still try to find a purpose-driven life. Well, I first came to the Philippines as a very young 21, naive woman as a Peace Corps volunteer assigned here in Batangas. I stayed for 3 years, and I really fell in love with the country, more so the people, and that propelled me into a service of working with others. But I always knew that I would come back, so I did. Think about what you would like someone else to pray for. I saw it online, and I knew immediately God was calling me. What attracted me was to know more fully the life of St. Ignatius, but also the fact that this was a walk. And people used to call me Jerry Walker because I love to walk. And I've walked and walked and walked throughout my life. I love walking and I love getting lost. And that sounds a bit strange. And what attracted me even more was the fact you would spend nearly 2 weeks coming to know some of the spiritual exercises of St. Ignatius, but also the opportunity to walk in silence if you so chose. The first spiritual exercise was on desire. Like St. Ignatius, to have the desire to know what God wants for you as part of the journey, the pilgrimage. So the rhythm allowed me to walk alone for the most part, to focus on that particular sense of desire for God. Even though it was lonely and dark inside these tunnels, and I did get a little anxious about no one else being around, I just let go of that and I continued to walk.
Good morning, Pilgrims!
Good morning!
Well, we have another beautiful day. It's going to be warmer. Maximum temperature 28 degrees.
Share the rosary with you this morning. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. I believe in God, the Father Almighty, creator of heaven and earth. I believe in Jesus Christ, his only Son, our Lord, who was conceived by the power of the Holy Spirit, born of the Virgin Mary.
Mighty God bless you, Father, Son, and Spirit.
I think one of the most powerful experiences, and this was perhaps midway, I just couldn't get into the rhythm for the first 2 hours. And I just kept on walking, and then it dawned on me, why not pray for everyone who has touched your life, those that are still living, those that are in heaven. Ask for forgiveness if you have hurt them. Thank them for the part that they have played in my life. That really helped me walk, and I think I did this for 2 hours. That was probably one of the deepest moments. I saw God in many different ways, remembering the lives of these people, my parents, my friends, acquaintances. God helped me to see and appreciate that. Well, it's always hard to walk on a path where you have to concentrate more. When you're just walking on a simple trail, or like the first day through the tunnels, you didn't have to use your mind so much on your own safety. But here you had to, on this third day, look down. And you had to be mindful of your steps. In some ways, it took my focus away, it took my rhythm away. But then I figured, well, this is just what there is. You can't go back. And I proceeded on. But that was hard. And actually, the entire Camino was a lot harder physically. So that was part of the suffering, was to take each day and just not get very anxious about it, because you didn't know what would lie ahead. Just focus on the moment.
Sanay siya maglakad. Ang bilis niya maglakad. Talaga naghahanap siya ng pagkakataon na mag-isa siya. Minsan magkasama kami naglalakad niyan. Pero mararamdaman ko na parang nagdadasal siya. Naghahanap siya ng katahimikan. I think she really profited from this experience in the Camino.
Wow. I love it. A little bit of gambling, lechon.
As the Camino is coming to a close, I never expected to get lost so far, so long.
I think you knew that shepherd.
I think we walked 15 kilometers out of the way. And of course, you lose your whole sense of rhythm, and you feel irritated by not finding that orange arrow. And I just made up my mind, you can't turn back, you just go ahead again.
Area municipal
y seguía la salida ya de Manresa hacia dirección Barcelona.
But did you see? Now where
He
is he?
sent me the GPS.
He's gone. He's gone. He just came and went. How are we doing?
Good.
This is my favorite picture. I love you.
Yes. Yes, this is the arrow.
Big arrow sign, 2 big arrows, the whole bit.
It wasn't pleasant,
But if we hadn't,
and but in the end, we made it to our final destination.
Congratulations, Bob.
Congratulations, Bob.
Show us, please. Lost in paradise. Okay. I feel good. There you go.
Excited yung mga tao dahil sa natapos sila, and it's no small achievement. Dahil mahirap ang Camino Ignaciano. Hindi kasi siya kasing developed ng Camino de Santiago. Hindi pa masyadong kilala at mahirap talaga yung mga dinadaanan. Kita-kita mo sa mga mukha ng mga tao na excited sila na, natapos ko yung Camino kahit na mahirap.
I think, that this will further strengthen and our marriage through spiritual formation.
Sa tingin ko, sa dulo naman, nakikita naman lagi, araw-araw sa dulo, wala naman kaming pagsasandalan kundi isa't isa. I think that same goes for other married couples. Siguro may times may problema or what, pero in the end talagang kayo-kayo pa rin magsasandalan, magtutulungan.
To me, there's been difficult moments when you want to quit. Of course, everybody has to admit to it. Certain individuals walk away from the Camino and sort of say, geez, nothing to that, give me a challenge. It's nice to be able to walk with our brothers and sisters and other individuals, sharing thoughts and ideas and ambitions and everything else, and seeing that we're all on this journey together. We really are. And even on the Camino, we're helping each other with just the words of reassurance that you can do it, or maybe a helping hand to get them up that last hill.
Ta-da! Gives me goosebumps actually, finishing it. Sabi nga ni Father Louis, pag mag-isa ka, hayaan mo lang lumabas ang mga thoughts mo. Whoever's face gets in front of you is probably what you have to deal with. And that's what I do. And that's what I did over the course of several days. Walang bagong sagot, walang bagong tanong, pero nagustuhan ko yung pakikipag-usap ko sa sarili ko. So nagawa ko, dapat kong gawin dito.
For those who would ask me kung mahirap sa edad ko, nasa physically challenged like me na I rarely walk. Something like that, a very little preparation for this, will it be very hard? Nakakaya ko So siguro kung nakakaya ko, it would be very easy for the others.
No necesita físicamente un cuerpo.
Di kailangan ng physical strength o lakas. Kailangan lang dala mo ang pagnanasa mong lakbayin ng Camino. Sa totoo lang, sobrang sarap ng pakiramdam kapag nakakatapos sila. Yung saya talagang parang di mo masusukat. Sa pag-uwi nila, alam mong buong-buo sila. Hindi na sila yung dating tao. Mula sa unang araw ng Camino hanggang sa pagtatapos nila, alam mong nag-iiba sila kapag nakumpleto yung Camino. Mapapansin mo sa pagkamaaliwalas ng mukha nila, sa saya na dala nila, sa mga ngiti nila. Grabe talaga ang pagbabago.
Mighty God bless you, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Kasi nakikinig ako sa mga bahaginan nila everyday. At nakita ko na may mga pagbabago sa kanila. Siguro parang icing on the cake na lang yon yung certificate. Para sa kanila, masaya sila dahil nakapagdasal sila at marami silang mga bagay na nakilala tungkol sa sarili nila sa kapwa nila during the Camino.
Ngunit bawat pusong naglalakbay, dumarating sa Sangandaan. Ngayong narito ka, kailangang magpasya. Aling landas ang susundin ng puso.
So pwede pagsamahin yung dalawa. Hindi naman kailangan magkaawa yung dalawa. Exciting na meron kang certificate. Pero yung mga tao, sabi nila mas nakapagdasal sila sa Camino.
It's hard to know at 74, or I will be 74 soon. What it instilled in me is a desire to know more about the spiritual exercises. And so in a few weeks, I'll be going down to Cebu for 8 days of a discernment, at the Jesuit retreat house in Cebu. They asked if I were interested to do 30 days, and I said, let me try 8 first. I don't think it would be fair to myself if I didn't do that. And I want to do that. I hope they have places to walk.
Merry Christmas, Balloon.